I used Pokemon Sleep for 50 days from its launch, and now it's time for me to talk about it after Halloween kinda got in the way. That's all the intro I could think of for this review. Let's cue the music and get right into it. Join me for a closer look at the mobile app Pokemon Sleep. Greetings, everyone. I am the hipster Snek, and today, as promised, we'll be taking a brief look at Pokemon Sleep, the relatively new sleep tracking app released this year to help encourage people get a good night's sleep. So how does it go about doing so? Turns out there's a series of islands somewhere in the Pokemon world where large, slumbering Pokemon known as Snorlax live. Also, a professor dwells there, studying the sleep habits of the Snorlax and their other neighboring Pokemon, who like to gather around due to Snorlax's, drowsy power, whatever that is. You're then recruited by the good professor to assist, as it turns out the people sleeping near Snorlax influences this drowsy power, and you're tasked with tending to the Snorlax and ensuring it grows well over time. Thus, our entire story is explained in full. And, to begin with, the graphics are pretty good. The game was developed by Select Button, the guys who did Magikarp Jump, and yes, I do remember that game existed. I actually 100%ed it way back in its day, even. But I digress. Select Button seems to like this sort of smooth animation style where everything has this kind of gentle, round appearance to it. And given that the main character, Snorlax, is indeed a round and gentle Pokemon, that makes perfect sense. More on that later as it is relevant. Sound-wise, this is awkward, I don't actually know. See, I've only ever used the app while it was muted, as the default sound used for the alarm in-game is obnoxious, and I hate it, and there don't appear to be any alternatives as of this writing. So I legit don't know what this thing sounds like at all, so I'm just going to awkwardly skim past that part for once. Anyway, let's talk about what constitutes the gameplay, or rather, the lack thereof. You might have noticed that I've been deliberately avoiding certain words, such as game or playing thus far, and that was a deliberate, conscious choice. Pokemon Sleep is, at its heart, a sleep tracker, and I already questioned the validity and usefulness of those to begin with. See, fun fact about your humble host, I suffer severe sleep apnea and just about every condition that can exacerbate it. So I find any results that an app made for smartphones can give to be suspect at best. But how does this little app attempt to gamify a sleep tracker of all things? Well, there's essentially three phases to this game-adjacent experience. The sleeping phase, where it tracks your sleep, the waking up phase, where your results yield encounters with Pokemon, and the daylight hours, where you can prepare meals for your Snorlax and some other minor to-dos. All of these feed into one another, so let's start with the going to bed segment. You'll forgive me if I spare you 8 hours of footage of a Pokemon going through a 3 to 7 second long sleeping animation, of course. You go to sleep, the game guesses when you're actually sleeping and how deep asleep you are at any given time. The game broadly categorizes these as dozing sleep, the light sleeping phase, snoozing sleep, the in-between phase, and slumbering phase, the deep sleep phase. How it guesses which phase you're in is a mystery to me, given that there have been times where it would assume I was asleep even if I wasn't lying down anymore, so yeah, that's a thing I noticed. At any rate, the game gives you a certain amount of drowsy power based on length of sleep. Also, fun fact, when the app first came out, if you took a nap during the day and tried to track the app, it would have a fit trying to rationalize it. That's since been patched, but talk about an oversight. Anyway, when you wake up, you get the entirely too slow-moving morning routine. And can I clarify one thing real quick? Holy crap, this game desperately needs a night mode. The game screen is blindingly bright white and cyan in its color scheme. Getting blasted with this every morning was a truly unpleasant experience. I wake up before the sun rises for my day job, so this must be akin to how the Immortals in Boktai felt when I shoot them with the Gun Del Sol. Anyway, I got to start my day every day with this app burning my retinas, and then the aforementioned way too slow morning routine kicks in. You get the breakdown of what the app thinks you slept and some meaningless numbers tied to it. Then the game randomly decides your overall style of sleep: dozing, snoozing, slumbering, balance type. Then it will randomly decide what Pokemon will show up around your Snorlax for sleep research, and then randomly decide what style of sleep they're doing as they do. You have literally no input on any of this, and while Pokemon Go could be argued to be very random too, Pokemon Sleep offers literally no means of rerolling or persisting except just doing it again 24 hours later. And that's not the only huge gripe I have. There's not many Pokemon in the game at all. In fact, I didn't even see a non-generation 1 or 2 Pokemon until about week 3 into my using this thing, and I have to say I've yet to see one from Gen 5 or later. Even then, the representation from Gens 1 through 4 is scant, and you're going to see the same Pokemon a lot. It didn't take long into my 50-day journey to start employing the skip function each morning, which, by the way, is still slow as molasses. That's actually something I need to talk about. Everything in this app is unbelievably slow, and I don't mean the Snorlax. It takes longer to load than it ought to for such a lightweight program, and there's a tangible hang whenever you access menus. The morning routine takes forever, and you can't skip most of it. The general gameplay is constantly interrupted due to the Pokemon skill system. See, Pokemon specialize in either gathering berries, which Snorlax will eat, getting ingredients for the cooking dishes for Snorlax, or skills which can do separate things but mostly impact one of the above or power up Snorlax directly. And if one of those skills trips while you're collecting berries from them, you're going to be waiting even longer because the game won't let you skip any of it. Same if a Pokemon finds a candy. Right, need to explain this, don't I? Instead of species candies and Stardust, like in Pokemon Go, you get species candies and Dream Shards, which serve the same purpose for both leveling up Pokemon and causing them to evolve once they've reached a prerequisite level. What's the point in doing that? Well, higher level Pokemon and evolved Pokemon bring more berries, ingredients, skills, etc. That's it. And sometimes a Pokemon will randomly give you a species candy, and guess what? You can't skip that animation either. So you're tapping the Pokemon to take the candy, waiting for them to stop dancing so you can tap them again in order to get their accumulated berries and ingredients, which also takes too long. I cannot explain how little this app respects its players' time. It's insanely frustrating, and any one of these slowdowns on their own really wouldn't be too bad. But it's every single thing in the game. Everything's so slow that should have been themed around Slowpoke, not Snorlax. Ugh. Anyway, getting new Pokemon is a once-a-day affair. As you wake up, you'll be given a freebie bonus biscuit alongside any accumulated Poke, Great, Ultra, and Master biscuits you can get along the way. See, instead of capturing Pokemon, we bribe them with cookies, which you can buy with the points you earn from using the sleep tracking functionality, or, of course, pay real-world money for diamonds, the premium currency. A quick glance at the shop tells us that a Poke Biscuit worth 1 pip of a friendship bar, and keeping in mind non-evolved Pokemon need a minimum of 5 of these, runs us 180 diamonds. A Great Biscuit, which is 3 pips, 600 diamonds. We can purchase 260 diamonds for about $5 USD, or $612 for $11. There's no other word for it. This cash shop is one huge, continuous ripoff. You're only trying to fill out your Pokedex. There is never going to be a need for use of it, or you'll get free diamonds for filling out your collections, to say nothing of the point exchange having all the items you'll actually need. And to top it all off, you only get the chance to feed Pokemon once a day. Now, the upside to all this is if you feed a Pokemon but don't max their friendship points out in that time, the next time that species shows up, and they will, believe me, because very little variety exists, they'll still keep the progress gained from any previous feedings, which is nice. Once they decide you've bribed them sufficiently, they join you and you can form a team of up to 5 Pokemon. You can even auto-assign teams based if they're berry gatherers, ingredient getters, or skill-based. Though in my brief experimentation, I found that ingredients are always the way to go, as the meals give at least a few thousand power for Snorlax and level up over time, versus the berries, which will give a couple hundred at their best and stay the same. So you sleep, bribe Pokemon, then use them to power up Snorlax up his rank, going from ranks 1 to 5 in the normal, Great, Ultra, and finally Master levels. So, no problem, you'll rank up pretty quick, right? Haha, no. Your progress gets reset each week, as you only mine the Snorlax in particular for 1 week at a time. Then, you can move between the islands to try to slightly influence the RNG spawn. However, each week you spend on an island gives you a small passive bonus which builds up the more you stay there, hence making it easier to power up your Snorlax the longer you stay. Around the time this was explained to me, I remember thinking, wait, this sounds like a roguelite. Except it's a roguelite with no actual action or strategy in it. That takes entirely too long to do even the simplest of tasks, and there's basically nothing to do for most of the day, since the best you can do is check in on the Snorlax and feed it 3 squares a day. Oh, right, cooking. I keep mentioning that, don't I? All right, it's a bit of a formality at this point in the review, but let me touch on this real quick since it's one of the few decisions you can actually make. See, you get ingredients, and you can then manage their use yourself, but there's no significant advantage in doing so because there's the auto-cook feature, which just does it randomly, and I saw no meaningful difference in power gained versus managing it myself. And in that rambling, nearly 2-page of a rant, I described everything there is to do in the totality of the app. Again, it's not really a game, and to be quite honest, this is all really bad and lame. It's not fun. It's not engaging. It's really quite dull, and at this point, I've actually already have it uninstalled from my phone. The footage you're seeing on screen at this point is pre-recorded from prior days' interactions. While Pokemon Go and Pikmin Bloom gave me ample incentive to get up and move around in fun and interesting ways, the only reason Pokemon Sleep would get me to sleep more is just by being so boring and dull that I'd eventually just nod off from a lack of anything remotely engaging or interactive about it. I tried to like it and find some amusement in it, but I just can't. If you guys at home enjoy the experience, or even just play it so casually that a lot of what I said above doesn't bother you, that's great. But I think I'll be charging my phone at night somewhere other than my bed. This has been the Snoozing Snek, bringing an overview of a app today. Can't really say game, can I? Anyway, hit that like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, as more content is always on its way here at Channel Snek. Leave a comment down below. Is it fixable? Or is it destined to be just as forgotten as Magikarp Jump? Or worse, Fire Emblem Heroes? You tell me. And join me here each week for more games that won't put you to sleep, including the amazing Tomodachi Bros podcast, now available on so many awesome places. Links in the description of every video, every time, no exception. Because I will see you there.